Hello, everybody. Welcome to Impact Champions, the learning and development podcast where we talk about the tangible benefit that training can have on organisations and its people. In today's episode, we were joined by Luke Rogers from Fulton Hogan. Luke is the Learning and Capability Manager and is working on a large-scale program across New Zealand and Australia. The training he's delivering impacts over 11,000 people, and we discussed with him today the types of strategies he's implementing, what's working, and what lessons he's learnt so far. Welcome, Luke.
Cool. Thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure, mate. Okay, so you've been working with Fulton Hogan for a couple of years now. Previously, you worked in learning and development, working for TAFEs and RTOs here in Victoria. You were very clever and got out of Victoria during the lockdowns, which we don't talk about. We're a little bit scarred for life.
PTSD.
Yeah, we've got a little bit PTSD, and some of us are a bit jealous about people like yourself getting out of here. But well done. So, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a bit of background about the work you're doing over there with Fulton Hogan.
Yeah, cool. So, in Fulton Hogan, which is a civil engineering company, so we are a New Zealand and Australian-based company. Originated in Dunedin 85 years ago, so Dunedin is right down south of South Island. But since then, we've expanded all through New Zealand and Australia. We've got 11,000 employees, and I suppose our main business is building roads, infrastructure, so large-scale projects. I think we're doing all the level crossings in Melbourne, so if you get delayed by that, that's us. Thank you very much.
Hey, sometimes those level crossing removals are the best things that ever happened.
Exactly.
The intersections used to be a nightmare, but no longer. Yeah.
Yeah. So my project, we are implementing a new ERP. So I'm not sure if you've heard an ERP before, but I had to look this up actually because I keep forgetting. It's an enterprise resource planning solution. So the best way to describe it is it's like the nervous system of the company. So it's how we control like our finance, accounting, how we calculate inventory, all our manufacturing, even down to things like our weigh bridges. So I'm not sure if you've ever been across a weigh bridge, if you take like hard rubbish, but yeah, it was software behind that. So we're implementing new software for that, implementing mobile applications for our truck drivers too. So how they can plan their journeys, track their journeys, mobile applications for our purchasing. So all of our foremen and guys on the ground, before they go to Bunnings, they use their app and they do all their little purchase order, etc. So it's pretty massive, and it affects every single one of our 11,000 employees across Australia and New Zealand in some way. And I am the training manager for that. So it's a bit of a hefty job. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sounds like it. So how far into the project are you now? Like what stage are you at?
Yeah, so we went live with Canterbury. So Canterbury is where Christchurch is. It's like, I suppose, home base for Fulton Hogan. It's where our corporate office is. So they went, I suppose, live with them in March. We're just, literally this is the last day of our South Island training window. So, yeah, we have, we've trained 1,700 people in the last 4 weeks in the new solution. And we go live at the end of this month for South Island. North Island kicking off in January, late January for our training window. So then we've got another like 4,000 employees in North Island will be training over a 6-week period over January, February. Then setting our sights on Australia. So we're just currently doing our, I suppose, initial engagements with all Australian businesses to figure out how we do it on a large geographical scale. And yeah, we'll either do it in 2 lots or 1 lot, but we plan to kick that off end of next year. Yeah, so I suppose we're not even halfway through yet.
No, you're in early
2.5 years, we're not even halfway through. So
no. Yeah. That's all good. But what you would have been through, I think, and would like to hear about would be the L&D approach that you're applying to this, like the strategy you had in mind for how you're going to deliver this, certainly for the New Zealand rollout. So you would have had a plan and all those kinds of things. Could you talk us through what the strategy and approach was?
Yeah, so I'm actually the second training manager to come on board. So the initial strategy was done by my predecessor.
Sorry, what was what?
Predecessor. She was just done by my predecessor.
Oh, your predecessor.
And like all good plans, you start it and then it goes out the window. Anyway,
yeah.
You know, so it was pretty much, it was all, I suppose, in its infantile stage. You know, she does all the buzzwords like Addy and things like that. Anyway, so it is a blended learning approach. So obviously introductory with e-learning. So we're sending out prerequisite e-learning to all of our more office-based staff. Obviously, we're not going to get the guys on the tools to jump on a computer when they don't need to, but they do prerequisite e-learning. Then we do a face-to-face workshop, sometimes teams. And we just found that with our company that they're definitely a bit more traditional in their approach to learning. So we definitely keep it at the face-to-face workshop, real practical, and move it from there. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's a strategy. Not very exciting, but yeah, it is a change for our business. So previously in New Zealand, we didn't even have an LMS, so we've had to implement an LMS, launch the concept of e-learning, which I think we're sitting at about 80% completion rate for this rollout. So I think that's pretty big for a company which has never done it before. And also the concept of structured learning as well, how we do our workshops, how we approach things has been totally different. I'm not going to win anything. I'm not going to win any kind of awards for educational excellence for what we're doing, but for our company, it's been quite a game changer.
And are we talking about primarily systems training
yeah, it is systems training. Yeah. So as I said, like it is, you know, it does affect every single person across the business, and it is in the system mostly. So most of our stuff is this called JD Edwards, which is created by Oracle. I'm not sure if you know Oracle, but yeah, it's basically a software. So it is IT, finance. So systems training can be a bit dry, which is our challenge as well. How do you keep that exciting? Don't know yet. Haven't figured that one out. But yeah, it's a systems training. So when I describe a face-to-face workshop, it is, you know, people sitting in the room, laptops, you know, that old school kind of demonstration, let's practice, etc. So it's
So you have like simulations of the system and they're clicking through like hotspots, kind of like going through the processes to practice it?
No, we have a training environment. So it is actually a replica of what they use, and we use all the data from our previous rollouts. So they are literally using the system and enacting real data. So it's like they actually place a purchase order, then we have the trainer will approve a purchase order, then they go to the next part. So it's as realistic as possible. Like even our mobile applications, we've managed to set up training environments for those too, so they can get in there and do the do. And then we leave the training environment open for them. So they always have a sandbox to play in until our next rollout, when we take their toys away and have to use it for the next guys. Yeah, so.
Now here's the key question, right? Are you measuring how well people are doing at this, or are they just going through it and it's like, yeah, they've done it, that's fine? Yeah,
so it is pretty straightforward, as in they have done it, and I suppose that's been our completion rates. Like real, I suppose, basic metrics and attendance. So that's the noose around my neck is what's our attendance like. So we have a attendance rating we need to achieve of 80% to be able to go live for each rollout. Yeah, so if we don't get to those various metrics, so 80% attendance, even just our evaluation strategy, so confidence rating, how well the workshop rated, you know, basic knowledge assessment. So real basic stuff, but it's quite en masse. Wouldn't have had to, I suppose, introduce this as a concept. So currently, I think I'm sitting at 88% for our South Island training window. We've got to mop up next week, and all our other metrics are kind of meeting it. As I said, nothing nothing mind-blowing, not what you guys are doing in the XAPI space, but it's
Well, I mean,
keeping us going.
confidence ratings is such a good thing to do with something like this, right? Because you're throwing this new system at people that they've never seen before, and they're going to have to use it on the job. And so, I don't know if you're doing a rating beforehand and a rating after the training.
Yeah, so that's how we're doing it. So yeah, how do you rate your confidence at the start and at the end? And initially, I think we find a 20% increase on a winner, but we're actually finding at least 40% increase in those ratings, that's fantastic.
Yeah. That's like exactly like, that's such a good example of like measuring impact without it having to be like concrete, metrics on how someone's performed within the system. It's like even them just having confidence in being able to do their job when you do transition over that's a good story to tell.
Yeah, it is backed up as well. So we do have part of our team, we have 5 change managers too. I suppose then they take over the ratings, and then there's just before the actual go live date, there's a temperature check of how the entire business is feeling about it, and then we do another check a month into go live to see how they're feeling, coping with it. And in theory, you should be seeing this. If you're seeing this, then we've got an issue. So there's quite a few metrics that we take throughout the entire program at each stage as well. So it's quite structured. I
like the fact that you're, in terms of an organizational maturity, in terms of using these technologies, you're obviously in the infancy, but the fact that you're using some of these really key metrics, are you finding that technology is enabling you to do this, or are you finding clever ways around the technology in order to find ways to measure this type of information?
Yeah, so I mean, Canterbury was our pilot. So I tested out quite a few things. Our LMS, which was implemented, was not fit for purpose. So we've kind of had to go back to, fortunately I work with so many accountants in this program that they've literally created us like a scheduling tool, things like that, so we can manage a student management system kind of deal. We still use our LMS to launch e-learning, which I find frustrating because we don't get the metrics out of e-learning that I would like, because the authoring software that we're using and the LMS don't really talk to each other very good. So we don't get much analytics from that. There's an opportunity for you guys. Anyway.
It's like name and shame the LMS.
We won't name it.
Let's stay learning.
What you describe is unfortunately still really common. In this day and age, in organizations, in areas where you would think that there would be seamless integration between courses and platforms and a whole range of things, there still is that disconnect. So it's actually, unfortunately, it's a common story you tell. But yes.
Yeah, it really buzzed me out actually, because I was like, coming from the TAFE system, we just use Moodle, and everyone's like, Moodle's crap. And I was like, okay, cool, we'll see what these corporate guys use. And I was like, oh, this is actually worse.
Yeah. And Moodle's extendable as well, so you can generally fix any problems you have with it.
You can launch like basic quizzes and things like that, whereas this doesn't actually read any of the quizzes that we have within our scoring packages. So there I suppose for our knowledge-based assessment, I trialed using one called Training Arcade, which was really cool. You guys should look it up, but it's basically a series of different arcade games which they have the quizzes embedded. So there's one called Jump that we're using, and you like jump from one thing to another, and then you land on a platform. Then it gives you like, your basic kind of multiple choice thing, and it's like quite an entertaining game to play. So we were actually using that for our pilot, and would play it at the start. So you'd assume that their knowledge level would be minimal. Yeah, and it's like a bit of a nice, I suppose, warm up for everyone, kind of getting into it. Let's play a bit of a fun game, see how we go, and at the end, we play the game again. And once again, you'd see you should be seeing this. We found it kind of went like that, not due to the technology, probably due to the implementation of it. So we found that trainers forgot to either do it at the start or do it at the end, or being a engineering company doing accounting software, a lot of people weren't into it. Like our SMEs, who are also our trainers, just couldn't really sell the sell. You know what I mean? They were like, this is a bit of a dumb game.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we had to scrap it, and now we're using MS Forms as a quiz. It's not very exciting.
I've got to say, from my perspective as a gamification aficionado, I hesitate to use gamification like that. Just I don't want to bag out anything, but examples where the gameplay and the game mechanics don't actually relate to what you're trying to teach.
It's funny you say that, because we had engineers in our classes who, like, the idea behind the game is the higher you get, the more points you get. Plus, if you land on these quizzes, then you also get points. But if you went through the entire game and you managed to avoid all the quizzes, then you still get points and you can still win the game.
Right.
So we had people intentionally missing them all because it was more fun.
Yeah.
And then you'd get to the end of it and they're like, there's massive scores, but no knowledge metrics.
Correct. Yeah.
They've created their own challenge of like, how can I complete this the highest score without
exactly, and that's exactly what's happening. It was disruptive for the rest of the group as well. Like the rest of the workshop, then people were kind of secretly playing the game instead of doing the actual. Anyway, it's in the bin now.
Yeah. For those watching, check out our gamification video that Dave and I did. It talks about that, like using a metric or using an engagement tool that doesn't marry up to your learning outcomes.
No. And
people invariably in organizations are going to find the way around. Like as a designer, you have something in mind of how people are going to interact with something, and then you watch people do it, and they do anything but the way that you intended them to interact with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
They find the way.
Point.
They find the little things, or if there is a reward mechanism that they are interested in, they are going to find ways to hack tapping into that reward mechanism. So I love gamification, done a lot of it, but it really needs to align, I feel, in my humble, correct opinion, it needs to align with your learning outcomes. So, that's just by the by. When you mentioned it, my ears pricked up. I was like, oh, I love gamification. But it's like, well, does it actually always? I guess it's if you use it for a large scale thing, when you have a lot of people doing it, the more likely you are to miss the point if they've got other things they're going off to try to do. So anyway, that was just a aside.
It's funny you say as well, because I suppose all our learning outcomes are very much about, I suppose this is my take background about the doing of the thing. It's like,
correct,
I want to see them doing this. Yeah, and that is therefore proving that they've learned the thing. You know what I mean? Whereas, and this is, I think, we need to rethink our evaluation strategy, where it's like you're going for that level 2 of what did they retain? And this is literally about retention. And I suppose had issues with this approach anyway, because if you do your little quiz at the end of the session, you might have retained that session, but then in 2 days' time you would have forgotten it anyway. So what was the actual point in doing this?
Correct. Yeah.
So now I suppose I'm sending it out 2 days later. So they've done their session, sending out this little knowledge thing as well, because our directors love it because it's what they want. So then I can go, yes, we achieved our 75-80% accuracy on this quiz. Yeah.
Right.
Can they do the thing? Don't know. We have other metrics for that as well. So we have a lot of analytics through our training environment and things like that, which we get, and we can kind of measure speed to competence, which is what I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
And the other stuff kind of keeps our stakeholders happy. So.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say that like systems training is actually really well suited for that, right? You're doing the thing digitally, so you can actually capture how well people are doing at it. So you're getting those analytics.
Yeah. So you are getting the analytics out of your training environment.
Yeah. So we have the training environment. We're also using. So we've for this JD, which is what we're doing, which is I said Oracle. we have this tool called Oracle Guided Learning. So rather than using user guides, I think it's a similar thing would be at WalkMe. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but it's an Oracle-based program.
Nice.
So it's basically WalkMe within JDE. So it's just a little widget. They open up JDE and it's like, click here, do this.
Yeah.
So we've ditched all of our old user guides using this thing. And just through that, it's got really good analytics of how many times did this particular flow work. You know, was there an issue? Like, why are they stopping here? Like, how many users are doing it? Because our whole training strategy, rather than, we flipped it. At the start of it was, from my predecessor, we need to embed all this knowledge here. Otherwise, we haven't done our job.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I suppose I've come along the line of going, hang on, you have this tool, which walks you through every single thing you need to do. Why don't we just teach them how to use that? So then we flipped it and said, okay, now we're doing OGL workshops, which the whole intention is to get them to practice using this tool, whether or not they understand what the entire purchase order process is, neither here nor there, you know what I mean? Because we have that embedded. And through that, we've got really good analytics. So that's what I'm tracking, I suppose. That's my thing at the moment. Yeah.
So how about the like the wider, like the workforce that's on the ground? You said like they're doing more of just the face-to-face training, right? They're not going through any of that kind of practice?
No, they are as well. So we have, our office space, the OGL desktop users, guys on the ground. So when you got like the foreman, etc. So that's where we've introduced like the mobility, how to raise purchase orders, things like that. So same deal, we get them into the face-to-face workshop. We still do face-to-face workshops for the office guys, by the way, because we just found that having 2 SMEs in the room with 15 people was actually quite effective with troubleshooting, etc. Same concept for our field staff guys. So yeah, they all have their own mobile device, all logged into a training environment, and then they just run through different scenarios of how to do this, how to do that. We've gone down the path of just quick reference guides. So it's a bit more suited for that cohort. It's just like your average kind of quick reference guide, really easy, screenshots, etc. And that's, I suppose, our training solution for that particular one. But they're quite intuitive, these apps. So, and they have to be. Like some of our truck drivers over in our west coast of New Zealand are relatively illiterate, let alone digitally illiterate. So yeah, they have to be quite intuitive for them to use them. Yeah, and that's.
Any other challenges delivering to that kind of audience?
Apart from digital literacy, there's, I suppose, the nature of our business is it's largely decentralized. So that's been really an effective business model for Fulton Hogan. So every region can run itself like it wants to, essentially. We're going to invest here, we're going to do that. But when you come along and we're doing a, what's it called? A business-wide, what's the word? Standardization project where, you can still do your own thing, but we're standardizing the way you use all the system across everything because it's, we're a company of 11,000 people and everyone's still using Excels and things like that. So the challenge is more of a change thing. So it's change adoption, which is why we have so many change managers, because you got this corporate-led project coming through to dudes down south.
Top down, do it how we tell you. It's the hardest way to enact change, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, why do we have to use this stupid app now? I used to just go to Bunnings and say, give me a hammer, and they used to give it to me. And you know what I mean? Now it's like, they don't trust us. We have to raise, so it's, the challenge is more of a change adoption area for us, I suppose, rather than a training challenge. And that presents itself in the training room.
Yeah.
Line. Yeah.
So you've got the first group from Canterbury going, then the rest of the rollout strategy throughout New Zealand. It sounds like what you're doing, your strategy is pretty replicable. Like it sounds like you've got the blended approach that you're using. Obviously, maybe you're not getting as much from your LMS as you possibly would like, but I really like the fact that you've got the blend being e-learning module. That I think you are underselling your second stage of your solution before when you talked about the simulation. So simulation being such an important training tool and as you're probably well aware, people learn so well through the act of doing and participating and applying the application to their own understanding of things. So that part of it being such an important thing, and the guided learning approach augmented into the system is something I've been a big fan of for a long time. When I first saw the example you mentioned with Walk Me, I was like, well, this is great. This is great. Working in the flow of learning in the flow of work. I believe it's a buzzword, a common phrase that's being used all the time, not just with augmented learning like that onto a platform, but just providing opportunities for people to learn whilst they're working without taking them away from, or just in time resources for them to access is something that we'll still see more and more of. AI being one of those things that's helping to enable that as well. So I do feel like you're underselling your solution earlier. It sounds like you've got some really, really great techniques, as well as the face-to-face, which if you've got two SMEs in the room, like if you can sustain that, that's gold. Because again, the learning occurs when people are able to talk about their concerns or they ask their questions related to their own context and have the answers and have that discussion. So you've got multiple opportunities for people to actually get to understand this, as well as getting out into the workforce and starting to do it. So are you geared up and ready to go for the remainder of the rollout, or is there something else that you want to get going first?
There's always something. What we learned from our pilot was whatever we learned from our pilot.
Oh yeah,
it's different. You know what I mean? I think let's come back to, I suppose, your earlier point was part of our change challenges has actually been internal for our program as well. So you might have experienced, well, everyone sees training as a silver bullet. You know, like we just trained 90% of our workforce from go live. They'll know it, and they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's right.
So we do have 3 months of what we call go live support, where all of our SMEs are embedded in the business to help. And that's what I keep trying to tell our people is that's when all your learning is reinforced. And I suppose that's what's come out of our pilot was the over-indexing of help. So someone's like, oh, I've forgotten how to do this. And you're like, instead of going, hey, you've got Oracle Guided Learning to talk you through this, you've got this, self-help. They got in there and did it for them, which creates a learned helplessness within the workforce. And then we actually got stuck within this period for a very long time, more than we should be. So I think that's been a learnings for the program. That's what we've been trying to reinforce is, yes, we've trained people, but they won't really learn until they're doing. And that's where, the strategy of Oracle Guided Learning really comes into play. And that's why we're getting them to use a tool rather than learning every single little business process along the way. It's, yeah.
Is there a gap between, is your ERP rollout staged as well so that you train and then they're going live in those locations? So, or do you have this massive, okay.
No. Cool. So it's just-in-time training. So we literally, so it's for South Island rollout, we've had a 5-week training window, which we've just finished now, plus a little mop-up week. And then there's 1 week, which they call cutover, and then it's go live.
Yeah.
So it's logistically training thousands of people within a 5-week period. It's hard.
Yeah.
But if you extend it out to 2 months earlier, you might as well just not have done the training.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's why it's that kind of staggered effect. So literally once we finish our go live support for South Island, we kick off with our North Island training and it kind of leapfrogs, and then we'll do Australia. So it's staggered just for that retention purposes.
Yeah. That's what I assume. Is like if you leave it too long, then it's like that practice just goes out the window, right?
Yeah, there's actually no point doing it. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we might have to wrap this up fairly soon. The chat's gone very quickly. So I'm just wondering then, based upon the outcomes of your pilot, like you talked about some of the impact measurements earlier that we're really impressed with, your pre and post evaluations being something that is measurable and that shows tangibly that the training does increase people's confidence. Is there a plan based upon pilot for a way to get some more metrics on understanding of people's ability to be able to apply their learning in the job, on the job? Like, is there a plan to start measuring that type of impact?
Yeah, so we're still measuring our OGL analytics, like even for our Canterbury pilot now. So in theory, you should see a peak of use, you know what I mean, once go live, and then you should see it slowly taper off as people kind of don't need that thing. I suppose we haven't seen that yet from our pilot. I suppose the way I liken it is, since the introduction of Google Maps, I always need Google Maps. You know what I mean? Because you never really learn how to get places. So maybe there's maybe we won't see a decline, but yeah, so we'll be monitoring that as we go for the entire rollout, and I suppose just seeing what happens really. But in theory, you should see that go down, but also that speed competence within JD itself are people getting quicker at doing a process? And in theory, they should, because they do it more and more and more. They get quicker and quicker until it becomes muscle memory. Yeah. So we are continually evaluating for the life of the project, and then I get to do a big wrap up of our benefit realization, things like that at the end of the project, at the post project. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you're definitely thinking along the right lines. I suppose within the platform, the system itself, so your speed to competence is the thing that you're interested in most. There aren't any other kind of job indicators based, like, would it be number of instances of people using the app at Bunnings, like in terms of adoption of the actual change? Are there any metrics on that as far as you're aware, or?
Not really, because everyone has to use it.
Okay.
So it's, if they don't, then you can't go to Bunnings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of a force.
And sausages from Bunnings have just plummeted because people aren't going. Sausage sales from Bunnings have really gone down. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I'm keen on as well is our support desk. So in theory, with the adoption of these new tools like your OGL and stuff, you should see support desk requests go down, because a lot of support desk stuff is, I forgot how to do this, forgot how to do that. But if you have the right tools and people know where to find those tools, then that should help alleviate that. The other thing we're just about to introduce as well is this like a AI training buddy. So the problem we got is we've got, say, our e-learning lives in our LMS, but then we have our user guides that live on SharePoint. We call it the hub, but it's essentially SharePoint. Then you've got process maps, which live in another URL. Then you've got OGL, which lives in our JDE, which is a lot of places, yeah. So what we're trying to introduce is just like the little kind of, how do I raise a purchase order? And it pulls the information you need, summarized out of your e-learning, which is your what and your why, and goes, okay, this is what it is. Yeah, cool. There's an OGL here, and it gives you like your OGL list, or there's a QRG here, you know what I mean? And actually kind of collates it for you. So rather than searching everywhere in 5 different locations, which is, so that's our new thing. We'll see if it's doable. Yeah.
That's that lots of people are doing that now. That is growing, rapidly
I don't
growing
think it's
solution.
I don't think it's a crazy thing. It's pretty good, Fulton Hogan.
It's very effective. Like, we've seen it work really well.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, moving forward, we'll check back in and like to hear more about your success and the success of the project and the impact it's having. So we better leave it there. Is it your lunch break now? Are you on lunch? You into your
Yeah,
lunch?
it is lunch break now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've got important things to do. So thanks for joining us, Luke. It's great. It was a great chat, mate. Really interested to hear about what you're doing over there at Fulton Hogan. So thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure. For everybody else, thanks for joining us on Impact Champions. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.